Hello, welcome back to Access. My name's Nathan, I'm here with Dave.
Hello.
Dave, very deliberately, I made my first appointment at GamesCom Middle-earth Shadow of War.
Yes.
I was there on my own. What a tragedy, I had to play it for an hour. And do you know something I did?
Indulge yourself, I imagine.
Oh, I did, yeah, but that isn't the title of this video. The title of this video is I punched a Balrog.
Nice.
Which is true, although I actually hit it with a sort of a tree beast. But it's an incarnation of an ancient nature spirit that's been living in Middle-earth since the first age.
So do we need to rework the title on this video?
I don't think we should. We should crack on. But the reason I wanted to play Shadow of War is because I really like Shadow of Mordor. Played it quite recently, which is lovely. As I mentioned at E3, it's a lovely way to play the new game, is to be still very familiar with the first one.
Yeah, you're about 4 years behind everyone.
Yes, I am, yeah, and I intend to be on every game. I mean, I've got the same for Wolfenstein, which is also coming up soon. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to just talk about what's changed, what's new, what my hands-on today revealed about the game, and the direction it's taking. It was a different section. So at E3 they spoke a bit about the kind of fortress system, which is kind of an update to when you go in and you take down a war chief. Now there's like this giant. They were saying today that one big thing they're trying to do is up the scale of the game so it matches Helm's Deep and the battles in Return of the King.
Wow.
That's what they're aiming for.
That's the dream, definitely.
That's the dream. And as part of that, they've conceded that the boss battles were not the most enormous part of the first game.
Right.
I think that I think we've spoken about this before, but I think they're quite open about the fact that in Shadow of Mordor they kind of discovered how fun the Nemesis system was, and it was the thing that really made the game good, and so they kind of focused on that midway through development.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they're kind of bringing forward is the boss battles, which is why I punched a Balrog.
Right.
So a Balrog is, I mean, it's quite a big thing to go for. You know, this is Orc murder simulator, effectively.
Yeah.
And suddenly I am in a new area of Mordor called Golgoroth, which is just a bit. It seemed like a bit deeper and darker and further than the other parts.
Fantastic, lovely.
And it's got
more
like
brown.
Yeah, and erupting fire kind of geezers.
Right.
There's probably a name for them. But
you don't mean bad guys?
No,
right.
No, not just guys, just exploding. And also, well, I tie in another thing, which is that anyone who played the Shadow of Mordor, the first game, will know that part of the reason the Nemesis system worked is because it would randomly bring into the world various pre-made Orc characters, and they would have different, I think maybe randomized, but different kind of strengths and weaknesses, and it would bring a strategic element to their offensive and defensive capabilities, and they basically doubled down on this, so now there are tons of different traits, and the variety is just much bigger, any combination of those traits means that you have to approach a fight in a specific way. And one of them was, getting back to the Balrog, there was this guy who was a necromancer.
Okay.
So I'm not actually sure about the in-game fighting him applications of him being a necromancer, whether he's going to be raising the dead during fights. But certainly
could be a problem.
He was doing a kind of a mystic incantation to raise the Balrog. And it's a very specific Balrog. If you're down with the Silmarillion and you're on the appendices back there.
I'm not.
It's Tar Goroth.
Right.
And he was a general in the first age, a general of the Balrogs, and let me tell you how angry he is.
A general Balrog?
A general Balrog.
Wow.
I mean, if you figure that the one that Gandalf fought in the Fellowship of the Ring there was just a regular Balrog. This one's a general Balrog.
He would have been in charge of that one, the Gandalf one.
He could well have been. Actually, there'll be a specific history there that we're not aware of. So let's not say that.
Someone somewhere is furious right now.
But he's really angry. So he comes out of the like lava pit in the middle of Mordor. He just destroys all the orcs that have been raising him up, and then
what sort of how ungrateful? How ungrateful?
It's a Balrog, man. He's supposed to be
a general,
a primeval representation of just fury and evil.
Right. Okay. So, fair point.
So I don't know what they were thinking. Well, actually, they wanted him to join.
They weren't thinking, were they?
They wanted him to join Sauron's army. So he comes up, and then you're there with Celebrimbor, and you're like, Celebrimbor, I think this is a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do this anymore. And he says it's okay because we've got Carnan with us, and you're like, who is Carnan? Except if you've read the appendices and the Silmarillion, and then you're like, Carnan!
Were you like Carnan?
No. Right. Carnan is
very honest of you.
So it's a nature spirit that has been battling, entities like the Balrog for thousands of years in Middle-earth.
Right.
And in this instance, appears as a kind of a giant tree figure.
Right.
And then that's when you're into the big, you know, that's when you get into the big boss battle.
Let me just, I'm going to just very quickly summarize. Did you go to fight a necromancer?
I was just hanging around.
Right, so
I was in a cutscene, minding my own business.
a necromancer and a bunch of orcs raised a Balrog, a specific Balrog who's actually a general Targoroth, general of the Balrogs.
Yeah.
And in response to that, you summoned...
No, she arrived.
You had with you all along, Karnan, a giant sort of tree spirit.
Tree spirit. Well, she decides in this instance to embody herself as a giant thing to fight the Balrog, and you're just kind of running around shooting the Balrog and trying to help her out, and then you mount her, and then the Balrog eventually escapes. And I believe that some of the story is going to be you following this Balrog around.
So how much, like, when you say, can you just describe this, how you were? The gameplay.
This is a boss battle. So
what's that word?
If you fought the Graug in the last game, similar to that in terms of your fight, you're in a little arena place with a giant thing, and you're trying not to die while also using your skills and kind of agility and ranged weaponry to stay alive and hurt it.
Right.
And then also imagine an enormous woodland spirit creature also fighting on your side.
Right.
So it's trying to give it a sense of scale. These are boss battles.
This sounds like a big scale.
It was, and it was cool. But you know, like boss battles. I mean, I'm glad I hit a Balrog, but boss battles aren't really my thing, and I didn't really miss them from the first game. So here is a list of other things that I did today, which I did really enjoy.
Right. Okay.
And they are, I love the fact that the Nemesis system, they were telling me, is tied to the story more. This is a really specific small point, but one I'm very pleased about, and I think I've actually spoken to you about this, that in the previous game, the reason I bounced off it first of all is because the story stuff I was doing was fine, but it wasn't really attached to the Nemesis system, which I was really enjoying.
Right.
And now they've just taken, I'm sure it's harder than this sounds, but they've taken the very sensible step of, if you work up a rivalry or a hatred with an orc within the Nemesis system, that orc will turn up in your story.
Right.
So so I think they've got slots in the story which can be filled
really cool.
by ones that you've already formed a relationship with.
Right.
And similarly, ones from the story may disappear from the storyline, or after they've appeared in the storyline, they will appear in your Nemesis system. So
right. Okay, that's
just,
really
just
cool.
tying the two things together.
That's very nice.
So
I like that.
That's going to be smart. I accidentally did some cool new moves.
Right. Okay.
Truly accidentally. The guy was like, I didn't bother. I think these are kind of micro things. He was like, I didn't bother telling you how to do that, but you do know
didn't
that
think you'd be clever enough to be able to do that. So you've impressed me.
I didn't tell this guy that I played the last one, so he must have thought I was just a natural.
Right. Yeah. I bet he was very impressed.
So I was running. So you get these situations where I was trying to kill one captain, and like just the other ones, like 3 others actually turned up, and I was like, this is going very badly. So I was running away, and as I ran, I accidentally pressed the stealth button, and I slid, turned round to face the horde of people who were chasing me, went into slow motion focus aiming, while still sliding backwards, and I missed. But it looked great.
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, oh, that's a new thing, you can slide and do focus aiming on the fly. And I also focused, like, dismounted, attacked someone who was mounted on a Caragor, and I kind of flew into him. Like, imagine if I fly kick someone off a motorbike. Right. You know.
Except the motorbike is alive and a
deadly
Caragor.
creature.
Yeah. Got
So that was cool. I accidentally did both those things. Right. You can poison barrels as you could in the last game, but now you explode them, single barrels only, and they explode as balefire, and they poison and burn everyone, which is important because as we were talking about the different traits of the different orcs, some of them might be susceptible to poison or fire, and not, you know, so maybe they're not susceptible to fire, but you can still get them with balefire if you poison a barrel.
Imagine that, being so confident, you'd be like, don't worry about that
fire, mate.
Oh, no, it's poison.
I'm going to go right next to that barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's balefire.
Yeah.
And there are, I can't remember what they're called, but there are kind of flashbacky missions, as there were last time, but they were part of a progression system for like these 3 different weapons. But this time you get full-bodied Celebrimbor missions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's going to be there looking all elfy and
that's interesting.
Clean.
As a flashback. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and so one of them was me, I just dropped straight into the mission, fighting a Drake. flying around on a dragon, burning stuff.
I'm very excited to fly around on a drake.
There's a particular mechanic to the flying as well. You have to press X to flap the wings there and keep yourself afloat. And then obviously at some points you want to sort of hover because you want to be able to burn stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a bit trickier than it sounds.
Right.
Let me tell you.
Good. I look forward to that.
Riding a big flaming dragon.
Yeah.
So that's all my stuff really. A headline is I punched a Balrog.
Yeah.
Other headlines are that there is tons of new traits and complications and strategic options available within the kind of orc murdering simulator, which is Shadow of War. The Nemesis system looks a bit better, the scale of it's huge, and there's like new areas. So, you know, I mean, I've spoken about the fact that maybe this doesn't tread that lightly on Lord of the Rings, you know, in terms of its story and its lore, and I'm fond of that stuff. But as a game, like, I don't know if I've had more fun with a game on PS4, really. Like, you know, there's things I love more, but like, Shadow of Mordor was great, and this is like fixed up. I think the team are really nice.
Yeah.
I think they've looked at the stuff that the community did, and they've tried to incorporate as much as possible in a really smart way. It looks great.
Well, I mean, that's the sign of a really good game. It's great to have an amazing story and something that you can really enjoy, but to have mechanics that are just fun and that you just enjoy just toying with, and you know, that's real longevity. So that's exciting.
So that's Shadow of War. I'm excited. We're going to have more on it when we can. Hopefully some more capture we can show you guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Dave, for listening.
You're welcome.
Stay tuned to PlayStation Access. We've got loads more coming up from Gamescom.